Where am I today with this play equipment? I've actually come further away from Moreton than on any of the previous video walks I've shared with you. Come to the village of Moreton over in East Dorset and to the walled garden there, which in recent years has been restored and opened up to the public. It's a fantastic spot to visit. It's actually the entry is free, and we're in the kitchen garden area at the moment. You can see the garden wall and various flowers and vegetables and herbs being grown here. The place is actually run by a project called Employ My Ability, which trains here young people who have learning disabilities, training them in horticulture, also in aspects of catering, because we're going to pass by the cafe in a moment. But it's the most wonderful spot with these extensive gardens. We're going to walk through them. And at the moment, part of it is closed. There are bits you would be able to normally visit, but that have to be closed down because of the coronavirus. But mostly now you can see round fully. And there's lots of people here on a sunny Saturday. Most of them, oh, if you heard a funny noise to my left, that was a couple of apples falling off a tree as I passed. Walking through one of the old gateways in the wall. Look at this wall itself. Is a little close-up of some flowers growing on the wall. And you may be able to read there, the Dovecot Cafe and the Ornamental Gardens. That's the way we're going. A lot of the character of the gardens is determined by the stream that runs through them. You can hear the waterfall, small waterfall there. It's called the Dovecot Cafe, so there's a dovecot, a small one. And I wonder if this historic building had dovecot characteristics as well. People having their lunches. I'm going to cross the stream again. There's a little bridge. Everybody's being very careful about their social distancing here. This is called the Monet Bridge. It seems to be the same shape as that bridge over Monet's garden in so many of his paintings. The gardens open out a bit here.
I don't mind the mini thing, because that's, for me, that's, I think because...
One or two bits of sculpture placed around the gardens. I particularly like this one. Coming to Moreton, it's less than an hour's drive from Moreton, up beyond Dorchester. And there are other things nearby that are well worth visiting, and we'll have a look at in a moment. But this garden is a delight. It has all sorts of varied, it's like a house with many rooms. Here we're going between cypress and then yew, and then little low box hedges, and cypress again into the rose garden. with its fountain. Out through another quadrant from the rose garden. Just going to cross the stream again. All sorts of paths here. It's like a miniature Kew Gardens, I tend to think. And at this point, as we're about to leave the walled garden, I'm going to pause the video for a moment and pick it up just a few hundred yards down the road. The old schoolroom here used to operate until last year as a really renowned tea rooms. I think they decided to move over to doing event catering only, having established their reputation for excellent food. And of course the cafe in the Dovecot Cafe in the walled garden had offered an alternative for visitors which wasn't in this village before. Now walking away from the main road down to see two other spots in Moreton. See you in a moment. St Nicholas Church is famous for its unique engraved windows. Now we're not allowed to go into the church at the moment, but I'm going to see if I can't get one or two good views of them from the outside. The church windows here aren't stained glass and in fact have no colour in them at all. They're engraved glass. Sir Lawrence Whistler did the designs. This one, for instance, shows a storm. You may be able to make out the words engraved there. He maketh lightning. And some of the other windows particularly have themes, wartime themes. If we look just at the corner of this one, you can perhaps see a house viewed from above, rabbits, and clearly a crashed Spitfire or similar plane. And is that Salisbury Cathedral? As well as Whistler's engravings, this church is remembered as the place where T.E. Lawrence, that's Lawrence of Arabia, had his funeral, with such people as Winston Churchill in attendance. Lawrence had lived not far from here, a small cottage, and died in a motorcycle accident, having sought relative anonymity after his fame after the First World War. Well, there's one more place to visit in Moreton. It's a walk of a few hundred yards. I'll see you there. It's a charming spot, is Moreton. Parts of it could almost be a film set for some historical drama if it weren't for the contemporary cars. It's also on a longer footpath journey known as the T.E. Lawrence Trail, the Lawrence of Arabia Trail. And if you were following that trail, it would bring you down this wooded track. Little used by cars these days. But quite a lot used by people. Because this probably very old road approaches a ford across the river, the widest ford, the longest river crossing in Dorset. And since cars aren't using it much, people do.
I've only got 2 car seats in the back.
And dogs. And fish. Oh, it's very busy today. But when you see what it's like, you won't be surprised. That's the view upriver. And that's the view downriver. And if you don't want to get your feet wet, you can go all the way across on the bridge. Goodbye from a rather special village, Moreton.